Okay. So this is really high level of what the process will look like. Um, Essentially assigning one volunteer leader to participate from each giving circle. So we can't really accommodate multiple leaders in this, but the first step really is to figure out who you want to manage this for your giving circle. And then that person will be sent a release form and services agreement via DocuSign to sign for us. Then once that happens, that person will get an alert and they will be set up in bill.com, which is how we'll be managing reimbursing these expenses. We'll get a little bit more into that in a moment. But as I said, these are the key things to know. Once you're set up in bill.com and those forms are signed, our accounts team will then create a pool for you. This will be on our end in your giving circle, and we will label it your giving circle name and that it's an operating fund. So that will be something that we will do after that paperwork. Then on your end, it's really just about fundraising funds into that pool. There are some things to be aware of in terms of what we can and can't accommodate. So we'll get into that in a moment. But this is really high level, the process that you can really expect. All right. Okay, so now, Lisa, I'm going to pass it over to you just to quickly talk through this slide in terms of what is eligible in terms of expenses.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot. So in terms of eligible expenses, I mean, think about this as kind of a reimbursement process by which you're going to be purchasing items relative to your fundraising. You may be purchasing Zoom to hold an online fundraiser. All those things that you may want reimbursement for a volunteer, you can submit that. So think about maybe transportation and mileage, other eligible categories that maybe include meals and attendance for training events, events, communication. All those are eligible. And if you have questions about what's eligible and what's not, just feel free to reach out to the accounts team before you submit your reimbursement form.
Perfect. And the really key thing here is just that they're directly related to operating your giving circle. So that's really the key thing to know. And so, for example, yeah, with your Zoom, it would be a portion of that in case, we're not going to just necessarily pay for your entire Zoom account if you're using it for other purposes, but really just to think about it relating directly to your giving circle. Okay, so now we're going to talk pretty top level about this in terms, or high level about this in terms of bill.com. This is the first piece of what that volunteer leader will do, is setting this up. So I am going to pass it over to you. This would be free from your end, so I just want to put that out there. There's no costs associated to this, but Lisa, I will pass it back to you to chat this through a bit.
Yeah, so the Bill.com account is really a software that we are going to be using to leverage so that we can easily reimburse you. So the software is going to require you to upload your reimbursements, and then we'll review them, and then we will then issue you a check directly via ACH into your own bank account. So Bill.com is a third party. It's free. It's not supposed to ask you for any payment to log in, but if it does, it's probably trying to just send you marketing materials, so you can ignore those. So don't feel like you have to pay for this service. So the first thing that you will do after you submit your signed agreement for the volunteer and service agreement, Gabby will then notify our accounts team. We will set you up on Bill.com and you'll receive an automatic email. So the next slide will show you an example of what that automatic email will look like. And all you do is click on accept the invite, and then you'll be taken to their website, and then they'll ask you to create a username and password. Very simple. Next. Then they will ask you a couple of questions. So this is a software that's really designed to pay out vendors. So it might ask you some questions that you might think, well, it's not really related to reimbursements, but we're going to show you how to navigate through this. So the first step is to say, how would you like to use Bill.com? You can just say skip this step. Enter the phone number and security and click next. So they're going to send you a a number to your phone. So you just want to make sure that you enter your phone number because that's for security purposes. And then when it's asking you, what's your relationship to Grapevine Giving Foundation? If you're, a customer or a vendor, you're just going to want to click on I'm none of the above, which is the link right at the bottom. Okay, next. And then it will ask you a little bit more information about your organization. Okay, so your giving circle is technically what you're doing this for as a nonprofit. So just select not-for-profit organization. The industry you choose is called nonprofit. And then it's going to ask you what kind of software, accounting software you want to use. Just say, I don't use accounting software. Okay. And then the next step is who owns the volunteer, meaning they want more information about you, the volunteer. What you'll want to do is just enter your social security number. Don't worry, it's all password protected. This is very secure platform. And this is just a process that they use to identify each individual who are paying out. But we don't really use any of this information for any other purpose. So it's going to ask you for social security. And then it's going to go through the process and ask you your bank account information. So what you'll want to do is put the routing number and the account information in your bank, because this is how we are going to pay out and the reimbursements. And so you'll want to set that up, and then you'll want to say ACH delivery. Okay, so choose ACH. And then after that, next slide. That's all you need to do. So you just need to set up an account and answer some simple questions. Then when you're ready to submit an invoice, what you'll want to do is go to bill.com, log in using your username and password, and then creating an invoice. Okay, so this is like a reimbursement form. You'll log in and then see that purple button in the middle of the page of your screen. You'll want to click on that, and then you'll be taken to a page where you can actually add your information in this pre-defined invoice. So when you add your name in the salesperson field, you'll add your giving circle name in the PO number field, and then you can just itemize your buttons. There's a purple button there that says add item. You'll just need to click on it. So one line might be thank you notes for our donors. The next one might be Zoom to have our online, donation fundraiser. So you'll just add the number of line items. And what you'll want to do is make sure that you also be very descriptive in the descriptions of what it's being used for. There's also a button on the bottom right-hand side where you can also upload your receipts. So whatever you purchase at maybe Home Depot or Zoom receipt, or it's a Target receipt, you'll want to make sure you upload those attachments. And you can also upload multiple attachments at the same time. So once that process is done, you'll hit submit. You'll be taken to a page where the next slide where you're going to be able to review to make sure this is what you wanted to submit. You'll say yes or send invoice, and then you'll be taken back to your dashboard. And that's how you know it's being submitted. Once it's being submitted, then it pings us on our side. The account team will review it, and then we'll go through our process to make sure that you receive the payments within a couple of weeks. We say monthly, but we're hoping to do it within 2 weeks.
So is the assumption that one person in the giving circle is the one that's paying for everything? So like if it was me, that I'd be paying for everything and then I'd be the one that would be reimbursed? Is that what I'm tracking to?
That's a really good question. Yes, I think because we can only reimburse one person at this time per giving circle, that one person would be submitting all the invoices, and then we would be reimbursing that one person. Yes.
Okay.
Good question.
And the name on the invoice has to match the name on the receipt needs to match who you're sending the funds to reimbursement, right? Like, could Meg submit a receipt that had someone else's name on it from her giving circle?
Yeah, I think that's going to have to be, and then Meg is then going to have to be responsible for, if someone paid for Zoom and someone else bought something at Target, she's going to have to send the money appropriately. And this is our pilot period. We just would like to streamline it to make sure it works. So we're just allowing one volunteer per giving circle, but we'll see how it goes, and we want to hear your feedback. And if that doesn't work, we'll need to figure out a different way that does work. So for now, we're just to make it simple, we just have one volunteer and per giving circle.
Liz, were you going to add anything? So you raise your hand.
Hi, Gaby. Thank you. Yes, if we could go back to slide 10, I just wanted to clarify that as you're entering the amount for Target or Zoom or whatever it is, you do not have to click that tax button on the right side before you see the total. You can include the tax, like the total spend amount. If it was $50 plus $5 in tax, you'd enter 55, so there's no tax implication at the bottom. Those are more for other situations. So it's just the baseline amount, bottom line of your receipt, and then that's how it will be entered. So you can ignore the tax consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe do you want to talk through this piece as well, Liz? Eligible receipts. Or sorry, Lisa.
Yeah, sure. So again, just upload your receipts with the invoice. You'll need to do it all at one time. There may be a way that you could upload your receipts after the fact, but it's a little bit confusing. So I just encourage you to have all your receipts ready to go when you're ready to submit the reimbursement form. And then just make sure that it's a valid receipt with the date, what the goods are. Should be easy to read. Try to make sure it's not blurry. I know if you're taking pictures, just make sure it's, you have good resolution. And any acceptable documentation can be a council check, a sales receipt, account statement, credit card slips, invoices, or petty cash slips are also acceptable, for small amounts of cash as well. So we have all the information here on this document that we'll share with you after. So you can always refer back to that.
Great. And then these are some important items to note. So as Lisa mentioned, this is our pilot of this. So we are hoping to iterate, but this is the first version of it. So your feedback is very, very critical to helping us improve it and making it as useful for you as possible, because we want to make sure that we are helping your giving circles reach, their full potential. But these are a couple key things to note. So in order to make this program possible from our end, there will be a 15% administrative fee on the expenses being reimbursed. The second point here is really important, that we will not be transferring money from any other pools. So say you have $50 in your operating expense pool, but you are wanting to be reimbursed $100. We won't go into other pools and move it over. We will wait until you have enough funding in your operating pool to reimburse you. So that's an important thing to note. And also there's a minimum of $100 reimbursement amount. This can be over multiple different receipts, but anything less than 100, we won't be able to reimburse you until it's reached that threshold. And then as I touched upon, one volunteer at this time can be enrolled in this program, and they also must be a current leader of your group. And then lastly, as Lisa mentioned, we are hoping to do reimbursements bi-weekly. So those are the key items. Now I want to go over to questions, because I know I can see Susan's already got one. The one thing I'll just end on here is sort of what's next for all of you. If you want to opt into this, you can start by emailing me and then just sending your Giving Circle name, your name and your email, and then I will pass that along so that you can get the DocuSign materials, the release form and service agreement. And then that you'll sign those, and then we will set up your operating fund. This is just a quick screenshot of what this will look like. You'll be able to locate it in your impact tab, and you can direct people there as well to donate directly to this fund as well. So I'm going to pause there and just open it up for any questions. Susan, I can see you've got Let me just make sure I'm on my last slide here. I'm gonna stop sharing just so I can see everyone. Okay, so Susan is asking, how long does it stay in the pool, and is there a deadline to decide? We have a leader meeting on April 2nd. So I can answer the second one. I'm pretty sure I can answer the first one, but I'll start with the second. There's no deadline right now, Susan. That's not a problem if you want to connect with your leaders first. For us, we'll just enroll people in this as you would like. So there's not a hard deadline to opt in or anything like that. How long does it stay in the pool? I don't think this will ever, I don't believe we'll be moving any funds out of your operating fund pool, but Lisa, let me know if there is anything around funds expiring or anything like that.
Yeah, you know, what you'll want to make sure is that the person that you have enough in your operating pool before you request a reimbursement. So we can't reimburse half, half of it. So it'll stay there until you request and download it. So there's no time limit.
As a follow-up to that, excuse me, what if for some reason this becomes a large pool, someone makes a large donation, and for some reason it goes into the pool? Can we take any of that and move it from the pool to our grant?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that, because we do, like when people get sponsorship and we encourage them to send us a check and we'll put it in the right pool, or we'll help facilitate that. So I think it's more the issue is the other way around, where it's much more challenging for us to move funds from your other pools to cover expenses. It's less of an issue because we do already have a process in place for if you get sponsorship money and stuff like that.
Okay, well, just to elaborate, we're gonna be starting the 100X program.
Mm-hmm.
Two things, just in regards to what's unique for Lancaster County Women for Good. Number one, we have established a checking account. That is Lancaster County, it's under Lancaster County for Good. Which would, it's paying, we've had some sponsors and we've put money in there to pay for, it's a free checking account. So we're using it to pay for certain things. But say we made money on 100X and we wanted some of that to go in the pool and it would refund, see what the question is, it would refund me, and then I would have to deposit into our checking account.
Yeah,
I know it's convoluted and it's kind of our own individual, setup, but that's what I'm thinking.
Is your name on the checking account? Because if it is, you can add that routing number and that checking account number when you sign up for your account on bill.com.
Okay, yeah, I'm signed up as the owner of the account, but the account name is actually Lancaster County Women for Good.
Yeah, I think you might be able to do that in bill.com. So just add the routing number at the account number, and then when we redistribute funds, it'll go right into that checking account.
Okay, just trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a great question. Sunita, go ahead.
So we also have a leader meeting coming up. It's actually next Tuesday. And one of the things that we were going to be talking about is our budget, because we're starting from zero. And so I heard Susan say that they started a bank account for their group. And that was one of the things, like, do we need specific information from Grapevine in order to open an account for our group?
I can answer and say, no, we did not. We did a purely online account, and yes, my name is on it because it's an online account. And only one person, only the owner, one person is allowed to have the debit card.
Mhm.
So we set it up individually, under our own account. I found and I could just add this to help, and Gabby, you may have some things to say. We went to a couple of different like credit unions, and places like that. And we ended up, I mean, we happened to have set up our own, EIN number. So we were able to provide that EIN number. So it does make it a little more complicated because now we are gonna have to have some sort of tax documents at the end of the year, with that account, but that's what we did. It's, it's something that, I did it Gabby knew about it. We did it, totally, openly. But it's something that we decided to do as a group because it just made it, before this was set up, it made it a little bit easier to manage the separation, and reimbursement and stuff like that. We do have things like we are members of, as Lancaster County Women for Good, members of our local chamber. So we set it up for the chamber membership will be paid by that unless we decide to do it through this reimbursement format. That's why it's something that we have to discuss, but you're welcome to reach out to me. We don't need to take up everybody's time. But you're welcome to reach out to me separately and we can discuss it if you have other questions.
Yeah, well, I was asking Gabby in particular, because setting it up, you mentioned getting an EIN, so it kind of like becomes our business, but it's still connected to Grapevine. So I've done tax accounting before, as I'm an accountant by career. So I'm just trying to be careful as far as at the end of the year, what we would have to report and stuff, because technically Grapevine owns the company name. So this is where it gets a little tricky. But yes, I will reach out to you, Susan, if I have more questions.
Lisa, do you have any thoughts on that? The piece about what they'd need to report out on, or Liz?
I don't have any. I just defer you to, definitely reach out to your own tax accountant. I mean, really, this is designed primarily for individuals, so that you can more easily withdraw funds that help support the organization that are donated funds, right? I mean, if you already have an EIN number, you're on your own entity, you have your own bank account, this may not be something you might need for your giving circle. So as it may be more complicated with a tax situation, but I would, defer to reaching out to your tax accountant. But really, we designed this in place really for individuals to be reimbursed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sarah, what about you?
Yeah, I just had two quick questions real quick. So first of all, pretend that, let's say that you only have $20 in your impact account and or not impact, what was the name of the
Operating fund, yeah.
Thank you, not impact. But you only have $20 in your operating fund account. And somebody goes through and submits like $100 worth of a reimbursement. Does that $100 reimbursement with all like the itemized receipts and everything like that sit there until the fund reaches $100 and then it gets cashed out? Like, does it get cashed out retroactively? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we understand. Gabby, you might have updated information on this.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, my understanding is that you wouldn't submit it until you have the like $100
Okay.
in the account. I don't think it would sit there and then automatically know when to sort of trigger. So I
Yep.
think how, especially in this pilot, it would be suggested to submit it once you have that money in the account. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that sounds good. And then my second question would be the 15% administrative fee that happens, does that get taken out when somebody's donating to the account initially so that the cash that's in the account is reimbursable, like the 100% of it? Or does every penny go into the account initially and then when you're reimbursing, it's minus 15%? Does that make sense? Like when does that occur?
Yeah, Liz, I think you have a process for this. Maybe you can shed some light on when that 15% is being taken out.
Sure, yeah, so the 15% gets taken out when we reimburse the funds. So if you were submitting a bill for, $15 or $100, the 15% fee, what will be taken out of your pool is $100 sent to you plus 15% at that point. So you'd want to make sure before submitting those that you have the 15% in the pool before it gets reimbursed. I believe that might be a
Okay.
blocker for us paying that out if there's not enough funds to cover the amount that you've submitted plus 15% of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Sarah, one more thing I wanted to comment on your first example. Let's say you only had $20, but you're submitting a reimbursement for $100. You'll want to make sure you save all the receipts, because what will happen is we'll come back, we'll say, oh, you don't have enough money in the operating fund. We'll tell you we can't reimburse you. And we're going to tell you raise more money and then we will reimburse you. You're going to have to submit the entire thing over again. So don't think that, oh, I uploaded the receipts, now it's there, I could throw away all my electronic copies. You'll need to submit the entire thing again.
Okay, so then, sorry, one more question in response to that too. So then is there a time frame in which you have to submit the receipts? Do you know what I mean, for reimbursement? Like, let's say a receipt, transaction occurred in January, and then we don't get funds until June or whatever. Can you submit that January receipt in June once the funds are filled and everything?
Yeah, Liz, can you answer that question? I don't have any insights on that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It would probably be more appropriate to wait until
Okay.
those funds are available. So if that is a 6-month timeline, 4-month timeline, whatever that is, I don't think that there is really a time limit on that. Just as long as, like, as we're submitting those, sorry, I'm just trying to think through like edge
Yeah.
cases where we've had this happen. I don't think it'll be a problem, just as long as there's not like mix up of the receipts. Like if you have some from January, you submit them in June, and then we would just need to track that. You guys would need to track that and communicate that to us as well
Okay.
to get those paid out. So it should be an issue.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
I know we are at the end and I want to make sure I'm mindful of everyone's time. Are there any last minute questions at all before we jump off? Okay, well, I will be sending a follow-up after this. So you can, if you do think of any questions, let me know. I'm also going to be using your questions to build out an FAQ. So you've got everything in one place. We have a bit of an FAQ right now, but it's really useful to hear the things you're thinking about. So I will be making that live as well. And then you can opt in. As I said, Susan and anyone else, there's no hard deadline to let us know if you'd like to participate. This is the pilot ongoing. So please do just let me know when you want to opt in so we can get things going for you. But appreciate everyone's patience as we've gotten this up and running. And yeah, just excited to help you out a bit more with your operational expenses, because I know it's been a little challenging right now. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And thank you so much to Liz and Lisa for joining today as well. It was great to have you all here.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you, Gabby.
Okay,
Have a great
bye,
day.
everyone.
Thank you, Gabby.
Bye.
Bye.